What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. Give you a quick overview of some of the data points, what moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did do fairly okay. Closed in the green, 0.74%. A lot of volatility though. So 1483 the low, 1528 the high. And as well, you did have kind of low volume. So today, 31.6 million shares being traded, 42.1 is the average. Starting off, a couple of things that really pushed it higher. First thing, one is just a general overreaction to yesterday's analyst rating. So you had a $6 sell. I completely see that as BS. So I feel like the market was really pushing SoFi higher today just as an overreaction of that. And as well, it was piggybacking off of a firm's earnings, which absolutely hit a home run, did have a high of $76.88. So in my opinion, that's kind of what really gave it a nice push higher. And then on the flip side, the market had other plans because you had non-farm payroll very low, 143 the actual, 205 the forecast. Unemployment wasn't all that bad, came in at 4%, forecast was 4.1. But then ultimately the dagger that really hit the market was Michigan consumer sentiment, and it came in at 67.8, forecast was 72. So that came out of left field, and in reality, it kind of does signal a potential slowing that might be coming. So I think that really prompted a hell of a lot of fear in the broader market. So instantly everything just went straight down once that came out. So that's what really influenced the market a little bit today. One thing I do want to bring up, that even though there wasn't any news or anything linking to SoFi, but Anthony. So Anthony's kind of going back and forth. Sometimes he's active on social media, sometimes he's not. But he did say that, yes, we are paying attention. So initially, it looks like someone was complaining, just saying that ultimately the sentiment is at all-time low. And I think that's kind of at the same time a little bit of a problem with any stock that's primarily held by retail. Like you have so much emotion in the actual stock, and people seem to forget the fact that over the last 1 year, it is still up 91.15%. Just because over the last 1 month, or let's say the last 5 days, is pulling back, people start to panic like crazy. So I think in general, just people need to realize what they investing. And SoFi, like back in the day when it was like between 6 and 8, man, it was crazy volatile. It always failed to break above 9, would get dragged back down to 7, rinse and repeat. Very frustrating stock, but that's what you got into. Obviously, with it moving higher, that fundamentally isn't going to change whatsoever. So I think people just need to, like I said, just kind of chill out, realize that it's still done a lot of good things, and it will do a lot of good things, just patience. So again, someone kind of pointed out the sentiment is very low. Someone tagged Anthony and he said, yes, we are paying attention. So in my opinion, how I perceive what Anthony might be doing next, since they did unveil their earnings, there is no blackout, he could and is open to buying stock. So I have a feeling early next week you might see a Form 4 coming down the pipeline where Anthony might be buying some stock. So because this would be the highest he's ever bought at, so that would be a huge sentiment boost, as what he's done in the past when it was like at $5, $6 and stuff. So yeah, let me know your viewpoint on that. Moving over to shorts, they did kind of break the silence. They did increase 445,000 shares. 12.32% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 132.6 million shares overall are being shorted. And then the cost of borrow minimum is back at being negative 0.22%. And just kind of looking at the teal line, you can kind of see just they did increase roughly around here. So they kind of helped the market, or at least push SoFi down a little bit more. Moving over to options, 12 million in calls, 4.09 in puts. 44% of all the options being done though were optimistic in nature, but you're kind of seeing a lot of dollar values right here. So 706,000 just between that 250 and 250 and 255. So big money is definitely playing SoFi and whatever, but kind of low volume. So yesterday was 35 million, day prior was 18, today was 16, a little bit higher for the put/call ratio. So again, something to keep in mind with it, how it closed. These are all the call options that ultimately were done today, and you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 16 to 1650 going into next week. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 14. Stay tuned for my video over this weekend where I go over all the things that you need to know and what could cause some volatility. But with today being Friday, this is the current open interest. So with it closing at 14 and change, basically everything of value does expire worthless. So that is the downside of doing options on a side note. So yeah, it is what it is. But aside from that, though, these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So during the trading day, very, very low, which matches with the overall just low common or the low volume today. As far as this, with it closing at 14.91, it closed exactly on this S2. So 14.91, it'll be a key pivot for it to go into next week with. 14.24 is going to be the next strong support. And then 15.32, which it kind of did bounce off of for the high, that is the next strong target / resistance. So let me know your viewpoint on that. Aside from the rating, nothing really new, no articles, nothing along those lines. So it is just the technicals, broader market that's really moving SoFi. Regrettably, it still is below that 50-day moving average. So historically, like I've kind of signaled, there is like a 30% potential pullback that could happen. So just be aware of that, just historically speaking, of course. But it did close below the ALMA. So it's kind of stuck in limbo between the ALMA and also this 100-day moving average. So I think the technicals are somewhat kind of stuck in limbo. On a positive note, if let's say Anthony does buy, for instance, or if they just put out some actual substantial piece of news or anything, you could see a nice push higher because stochastic RSI is signaling that it is very oversold. So all in all, just anticipate a lot of volatility for the foreseeable future. Unless you are new in SoFi, like SoFi is probably one of the most frustrating stocks, so that's a spoiler alert. But if you are an OG in SoFi and you've been holding since like $5, $6 or whatever else, just dime in hand, do what you need to do. Stock might go up, down, sideways, loop-de-loop. That's what it always does, a very volatile stock. But even more reason why you need to learn options. You can kind of place hedge, bullish or bearish. You can do a lot of different things. So just take the time over the weekend, research options. It can be very profitable and very beneficial for you. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Hopefully everyone has an amazing weekend ahead of them. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon where I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolutely on point and bangers. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.